Tea was a bright Saturday morning in the little English town of Rosewood, the kind of day where the sun warmed your face, but the breeze kept the air fresh. The church stood tall at the top of the hill, decorated with white roses, ribbons, and little golden bells. Guests wandered around the garden with champagne flutes, taking photos of everything: the flowers, the cake, the hats, even each other's shoes. Inside the church dressing room, Sophie Bennett stood in front of a tall mirror, staring at her reflection. Her wedding dress sparkled under the soft sunlight streaming through the window. Her long veil hung perfectly down her back, and a small diamond clip shone in her hair. "You look like something out of a magazine," said Laura, her best friend, fussing with the dress. "I look like someone who's about to throw up," Sophie replied with a nervous laugh. Laura grinned. "That's normal. Every bride feels like that." Meanwhile, in a tiny side room near the altar, Oliver Wright was pacing. His best man, Dan, sat in the corner eating a packet of crisps. "You'll be fine," Dan said through a mouthful of salt and vinegar. "What could possibly go wrong?" Oliver gave him a nervous look. "Why would you even say that? Now something's definitely gonna go wrong." He wasn't wrong. 15 minutes before the ceremony, outside in the churchyard, the trouble began. Oliver's Uncle Peter made a sarcastic comment to Sophie's cousin Jason about the quality of the champagne. Jason fired back about Peter's tie, looking like it came from a charity shop. Then Sophie's father, Martin, stepped in. Soon Oliver's Aunt Linda joined, and voices grew louder. Guests tried to step between them, but it was too late. The argument had turned into a full family shouting match. The vicar poked his head out holding a Bible. "What on earth is going on here?" "This wedding is over," Martin shouted. His face was red, and his voice shook. "We are not giving you our daughter." Gasps spread across the churchyard like ripples in a pond. Someone dropped a champagne glass. A bridesmaid clutched her pearls. At that moment, 80-year-old Grandma Margaret made her entrance. Wearing a bright pink hat with a feather so big it looked like it could fly away, she stepped into the center of the chaos and banged her walking stick on the ground. "Stop this nonsense immediately," she barked. "We are having a wedding today, with Sophie, or with another girl." Oliver blinked. "Gran, what do you mean, another girl?" "I mean," she said, "that I have waited all week for smoked salmon sandwiches, and I will not let some silly argument stop me. If Sophie doesn't want to marry you, we will find you another bride. Today. Now, before the caterer leaves." A stunned silence followed, until Mrs. Parker, a neighbor, raised her hand and pointed across the lawn. "My daughter Emily is single." Emily, who was happily eating mini quiches, froze mid-bite. "I beg your pardon?" she said, her mouth still full. "You'd look lovely in white," Mrs. Parker insisted. Emily shook her head wildly. "No, I don't even know the groom, and I'm not wearing anyone's dress after they've sweated in it." Two of Oliver's aunties, clearly enjoying themselves, rushed over and placed a spare veil on Emily's head. Emily tried to escape, nearly tripping over a flower pot. "Help!" she shouted, but everyone was laughing too hard to stop it. Oliver rubbed his temples. "Gran, this is ridiculous." "It's called problem solving," Margaret replied. "You young people should try it sometime." Before this fake wedding could go any further, Sophie's brother Ben came running up out of breath. "Wait, it's a misunderstanding. Dad just overreacted. Sophie still wants to marry you." Everyone exhaled in relief. Emily yanked off the veil and stormed back to her quiches. Grandma Margaret muttered, "Shame, she's got good hips for childbearing." 15 minutes later, Sophie walked down the aisle on her father's arm. Martin looked awkward but proud. Oliver looked like he might faint, but when Sophie smiled at him, he relaxed. The ceremony went ahead. though a few guests kept whispering about the one where the groom almost married the canapé girl. The reception was lively. People clinked glasses, the band played cheerful songs, and even Martin danced, though only after 3 glasses of wine. Grandma Margaret kept telling guests, I fixed the whole thing. Without me, you'd all be home watching TV. Emily avoided Oliver all evening, glaring at him like it was his fault. Later that night, Sophie found herself in Oliver's small but cozy home. The living room had mismatched furniture, a slightly crooked bookshelf, and a squeaky old sofa. Oliver brought in 2 mugs of tea. I didn't know how you take it, so I made one with sugar and one without. She blinked in surprise. That's actually really sweet. Or really stupid, he said with a grin. I mean, what if you don't like tea at all? I love tea, she said, taking the sugary one. They sat together in comfortable silence, interrupted only by the occasional squeak of the sofa whenever they moved. So, Oliver said quietly, sorry about today. Not exactly the perfect start. Sophie laughed softly. It's fine, honestly. It's kind of funny now. The sofa squeaked again. They both laughed harder. Around midnight, Sophie woke to a buzzing sound. Curious, she went to the kitchen and stopped in the doorway. Oliver was wearing a ridiculous blue superhero dressing gown, holding a tea towel like a weapon. What are you doing? She asked, covering her mouth to hide her smile. Protecting my wife from a dangerous intruder, he said dramatically. He pointed to a large fly buzzing near the light. He made 3 wild swings before finally opening the window to let it out. Mission complete, he said proudly. Sophie was laughing so hard she had tears in her eyes. Over the next few days, Sophie noticed more about him, how he remembered exactly how she liked her tea, how he fixed the squeaky bathroom door without being asked, how he listened to her stories without checking his phone, and how he had a quiet humor that made even bad days lighter. One rainy afternoon, they sat on the porch, sipping tea while the rain tapped on the roof. Sophie watched him and thought, he's not rich, he's not perfect, but he's kind, and maybe that's what I need. That evening, she told him softly, you know, I think I'm starting to really like you. Oliver blinked. Really? Even after my grand nearly married me to Emily? Yes, she laughed, especially after that. The following weekend, they visited Grandma Margaret. She opened the door, gave Sophie a long look, and said, good, you stayed. I was worried I'd have to find Oliver another bride again. Sophie smiled. Don't worry, Margaret. I'm keeping him. Oliver muttered, romantic as ever, but he was smiling too. From a day of chaos came something warm and lasting. Not a perfect fairy tale, but a real love story. And sometimes that's the best kind.
And that's how a wedding that nearly fell apart became the start of something real. Life doesn't always follow the plan. Sometimes it throws cakes in your face and hands you a different dance partner. But if you are lucky, you end up with someone who makes you laugh on rainy days and brings you tea the way you like it. And maybe, just maybe, that's better than perfect.